Hannah, are you gonna watch this presentation with us?
Okay, yeah, no, I'm listening. Oh, it's a presentation, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
please tune into my stream.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hold on, don't look at the
On
stuff.
to
I'm not looking at any of the other slides.
Don't look at the other slides,
Overwatch
don't look at
lecture. You tricked me.
Ed, please keep
Tricked me.
Ed, please keep an open mind, okay? All right, please
Oh,
come into this
oh.
with an open heart and an open mind. I think that's really important.
All right.
Well, this main screen excited me, so Dom, per your recommendation, I will lower my expectations.
Okay, is everyone ready? Is everyone watching?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tim? Excellent. Okay.
Sadly.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dom, and this is my presentation. It's called Self-Improvement, A Guide to Maining Zenyatta for the Modern Woman. Now, I'm
Yes.
just some guy, but I think if you come into this talk with an open heart and an open mind, you can become the girl boss Zenyatta player you were meant to be. The first and most important point in self-improvement is don't panic. At every step of your journey, you may hate yourself. You may get really sad and things might seem urgent or dire, but you're fine. Everything is going to be fine. Remember, worrying too much gives you wrinkles. And nobody will like you if you're ugly. So if you want to land headshots like Jonak, you got to take it easy. Step 1 of self-improvement, confronting the shadow. The shadow self is a concept first articulated by Carl Jung and then popularized by Persona 4. It represents the part of yourself that you are subconsciously aware of but are afraid of confronting or afraid of other people learning about. They are also known as insecurities. So listen to the beast inside, your fears, your anxiety, your depression, whatever it is that your brain is trying to tell you that you don't want to hear. For me, it would go something like this. What do you hate about yourself, you worthless piece of shit? No, seriously, why are you here right now? Wasting time having the same vapid circle jerk conversations over Discord. Do you realize how much time you spend in here among like-minded degenerates so that you can validate the shit out of each other and make fun of people who don't fit into your preconceptions just to get an ounce of relief from that voice in your head that tells you all the popular kids from high school were right, that you don't fit in? You like being in here because feeling like you belong in a community means that you don't have to come up with a greater justification for why you're alive at all. Well, let me reassure you that there is none. And it's time you sat in a room by yourself, looked in the mirror, and recognized that there is a child inside you that is scared shitless of being alone, of admitting that their life has no meaning. You are a dopamine addict, constantly seeking the most basic level of mental stimulation so that you don't have to be alone with your thoughts and confront the things you hate about yourself. But your shadow self is there, and the longer you wait to confront them, the hungrier they're going to be when something finally knocks you back into the severe depression that looms just outside your periphery, you miserable coward.
That was a personal attack.
Step 2. It's time. Now that you've figured out what it is you hate about yourself, it's time to love yourself, to forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself can be difficult because we live in a cycle of judgment and cruelty. Most people have a dualistic outlook on morality, where there are only two types of people: good people and bad people. But the truth is that everybody is just a person who's capable of doing both. One of the fundamental questions of life is who is to blame, in which no answer is really correct. Because eventually you either have to let go and move forward anyway, or die waiting for an answer. So give up on seeking to assign blame and just let go. You've got men to gaslight. If you're having trouble forgiving yourself, try this exercise. Imagine the worst person in your life and forgive them. If you can do this, then you're already ready to forgive yourself. When cruelty pops up, it will soak into the brain like a disease. You have to remember to wring it out every time. This is much easier said than done. Step 3, navigating other people. You need to hold yourself accountable. When other people criticize you, it can be hard to tell if their advice is coming from a good place. Do they have your health and happiness at heart, or are they just projecting their insecurities onto you? Who can tell? So you need to hold yourself accountable. No one else will. Remember that we see things the way we are, not the way they are. Every impression we perceive contains a little bit of ourselves. However, when other people criticize you, it's important not to get defensive. Look inward. Think about whether or not your behavior is in line with your values. Are you proud of the person you're being? Is that the sort of person you want to be? These are the questions you should ask yourself. And if the answer is yes, if you are living in line with your values, then don't worry about it. The person in your life telling you to change either needs to accept these things about you, or the two of you need to put some distance in there and reevaluate the position you have in each other's lives. However, if the answer is no, if you take a look at your behavior and find a recent past that is full of regret and guilt, then it's time to make a change. But how do we make a change, Dom? Well, I'll tell you, goddammit. The first thing is, again, go easy on yourself. The universe was here before you were born, and the universe will be here after you're gone. There's no point stressing out about this. Rushing the process doesn't help you or anybody else, so take your time. Change is a slow, iterative process.
Oh my
It takes
fucking God.
patience and discipline. Change won't happen overnight, so the important part is to take opportunities to be the person you want to be when and if they come up. But it's important to remain patient. Trust me when I say that there are going to be moments where you think, I've done it, I've cracked it, I've beaten my demons, but that's exactly when they've beaten you. And when that happens, you can't let it bring you down. Your shadow is a part of you, and unfortunately, you can never really beat yourself. After all, the process of self-improvement isn't supposed to be a fight. It's a relationship, and it requires all the trust, patience, and compromise that any good relationship has. Your shadow is someone you will live with till the day you die, so it's on you to welcome them into the house, give them a hug and a nice warm meal so that everybody can start to heal. And that is, in essence, the secret. You have to forgive yourself, truly forgive yourself, and love yourself. When you love and forgive someone, it doesn't mean ignoring their self-destructive habits. So don't lie to yourself. That would just be ignoring the problem. To have a healthy relationship with yourself, you have to be honest. Be patient with yourself. Take time to implement changes and accept you're going to stumble along the way. Some important pillars are, for one, judgment is binary.
Bold claim for person who has two non-binary people in chat.
We judge others for the same things we judge ourselves for. So if you find it hard to forgive yourself for something, try imagining if someone else did it, someone you love, and notice how you feel about them. If you can forgive someone else, you can forgive yourself, and vice versa. This also means that one of the best ways to practice self-improvement, no matter what it is that you're trying to improve about yourself, is to treat others with compassion. Love everybody you meet unconditionally, and look at them with kind eyes. If we can begin to stop being cruel to others, we can begin to stop being cruel to ourselves. So forgive the people in your life, love them, and practice being slow to anger. Now, why does this work? Well, it's because cruelty is a habit, and every habit is developed out of repetition. The social and psychological conditioning that make us who we are is a process of experiencing the same thing over and over. So the way to fix that is also through repetition, just moving in the opposite direction. We believe we develop habits through conditioning, so we also break habits through conditioning. It's quite simple. That's where meditation comes in. Meditation isn't for everyone, and by no means do you need to do it in order to improve, but meditating regularly is a great way to train the mind to focus on what you want to focus on. Imagine getting dumped and being able to focus on joy and love instead of being overwhelmed by despair. Sounds good, right? Well, that's exactly what the meditation masters are seeking to do, to experience suffering without being controlled by it. And all that also applies to yoga and breathwork. But whereas meditation is about focusing your thoughts, yoga and breathwork are more about bridging the gap between body and mind, staying grounded and present. There's a lot of overlap between the two, and both of the words yoga and meditation have been kind of bastardized. People use them to mean different things. But if you look into it, into it enough, you can figure out all that stuff for yourself, including what specific techniques are right for you. Above all, remember that you are already enough. People assume that in order to self-improve, they need to reconnect with something or to change something. But all you're really trying to change is the false impression that you are at all lacking anything as you are. Try to remember that we as humans are not separate from the universe. We are as an example of it. We are a temporary phenomenon of light and sound, like a rainbow, and a rainbow doesn't feel the need to justify its existence, so you shouldn't either. So with all that out of the way, you're ready to play Zenyatta. Zenyatta combos great with DPS that have good or unique maneuverability and evasiveness. So heroes like Genji, Pharah, Tracer are great choices. Tank doesn't matter too much, most are fine, but Winston is far and away the hero who gets the most value out of the Discord orb, while Sigma's shield and focus on range enables Zen to do more DPS himself. Zen's biggest weakness is his fragility. Remember, most of his health is shield, and shield regenerates but drains fast. So Baptiste is his ideal heal partner. They both like to stay at range. Baptiste can compensate for Zen's low healing output, and Bap can save Zen's life with an immortality field. Lucio is also a great healing partner because he can keep threats away and speed Zen out of trouble. Unfortunately, this combo has very low average healing compared to the other combos, so it requires a much higher level of coordination from your team than is typically expected. Everybody else is good enough, but Brig is unfortunately the worst. That's just not a good idea. Funnily enough, the characters Zen pairs well with also have great matchups against him. Winston, Genji, Tracer are huge threats, as well as Hog, Sombra and Reaper, as well as Hog, Sombra and Reaper. If the enemy team has even one of those, it's worth reconsidering your pick. Zenyatta, is also sniper fodder, so if there's a Widow or a Hanzo or an Ashe, be very careful about your positioning. This goes for the Roadhog matchup too. Those hooks are lethal. Zarya's bubbles get rid of Discord, so she can also heavily punish teams for focusing on one target. Zenyatta serves really high utility. Discord is one of the best abilities in the game, and even any marginally coordinated team can clean up by systematically deleting the targets that Zen highlights. It doesn't matter who's calling the shots, it's just important that Zen is communicating with someone to win those little 1v1s and team fights. A good general rule is to highlight healers first, then DPS, then tank. The same as always. But it can be hard to get a good sight on the healers, so just target whoever your teammates are fighting. This is another reason Zen pairs well with Winston. Winston's bubble shield and ability to dive snipers lets Zen move around a bit more, which means he can discord whoever he wants. If that's not the case though, sometimes discording the tank first is fine. Just make sure your entire team's on the same page about it. For the healing orb, again, unless your DPS are trash, that should really just be whichever DPS is harder for your partner to heal. Obviously, give it to the other healer if they are critical, but it's often better just to leave it on fully healed DPS than give it to a tank on half health, because your tank, with the help of the other healer, should be able to sustain themselves. Primary fire is pretty simple. Headshots do a lot of damage, so just aim in the direction of the discorded enemy and hold mouse 1. Zen's ult has huge potential to turn team fights, so it's best saved for when two teammates are at critical health. My reactions aren't very good though, so I usually just pop it when I hear an enemy ult. And that's Zenyatta. Thank you everybody for listening. Now go out there and get some team kills.
Woo!
That's all. I am clapping, but my mic's not picking it up. There
I'm
we
not
are.
saying you're wrong, but I'm still going to play Brig regardless.
I'm just saying Brig and Zen aren't a great combo, but Brig's a fine healer. Brig and Zen kind of serve the same utility. You know, Brig's armor packs can really help win like little 1v1 scraps, just like Zen's Discord and heal orbs can. So having them kind of, they don't really compensate for each other's weaknesses.
I've got a question for the
Yes.
So what if I'm in the middle of a fight, like in the middle of a match with Zenyatta, but all of a sudden all my fears and insecurities come back and I just hate myself as I'm playing Zenyatta? What do I do then?
Run into enemy lines and die.
So personally, and like this is going to come down to your individual discretion, but personally, I would start breathing deeply, remain focused. That's where the breath work and the yoga sort of come in. Just try to reconnect with your body and the moment, and remember again that you are not lacking. There is nothing further that you need to attain. It's just sort of an increased awareness.
Okay, that's very helpful. But one further point is, So if it's a very tense match
Mhm.
and the deep breathing isn't, I'm like the deep breathing isn't quite enough. I need to do some yoga poses while I play.
Yeah.
What's the best pose to do? Wow, because I feel like if I go for like a cobra or a like salute the sun, I think it's gonna make my reactions a bit more.
Right. So this is a good question. I would personally, probably, because when we say yoga, again, it's like a word a lot of people use to mean different things. And the poses are great because it makes you focus on your body and like where you are and that stuff. But yoga can really be any activity that reconnects yourself with your physical self and your surroundings. So even like just leaning from one side to the other, just get out of your chair, I think is really the main strategy. Maybe put your legs back, something like this, a bit of a lunge. It's kind of hard to see because the camera, but I would suggest like a lunge pose, and that way you can still keep your hands and on the keyboard and mouse and eyes on the screen. Are there any other questions? So I just think it's important. Like, Overwatch is a team-based game, right? And the best thing you can do to help other people is to help yourself and make sure you're taking care of yourself. And so it's kind of an ethical, like, it's hard to justify playing Overwatch and playing Zen for your team if you aren't fully present and connected with yourself before you do so. Because then you're bringing all your troubles and insecurities into the game, and that's not going to help your team win. All right. Is that everything? Okay. All right.